Sometimes we are so quick, in fact, sometimes we are too quick to condemn people who don't believe in Jesus. In fact, sometimes we're quicker than Jesus to condemn people who don't believe in Jesus. In John's Gospel, Jesus actually explained about the people who were about to crucify him. He explained that they would not be guilty of sin if he himself had not first come and spoken to them. You see, in Jesus Christ's mind, he can't hold people accountable for knowing him if he never actually spent time with them. The sad thing is that we so often hold people accountable for knowing God when people haven't had the opportunity to fully hear and understand the truth about him. In John chapter 15, Jesus says, "If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin." You see, it's not that Jesus Christ doesn't hold the world accountable for knowledge of him. It's just that Jesus Christ doesn't hold the world accountable for knowledge of him when it's not possible for people in the world to have had knowledge of him. You know, I think sometimes we waste so much precious time judging other people when we could have been evangelizing other people instead. You know, I think sometimes we believe it's our job to decide who's saved and who's not saved. And in the process, we set ourselves up to be judges of other people. It's not just that we shouldn't judge others, it's that we can't judge others. Only God can possibly know the fullness of the truth about every single person that's hidden from each and every one of us as human beings. Only God, therefore, only the omniscient God, has the right and the ability to judge. You see, it all comes back at the end of the day to choosing between evangelization and confrontation. In Acts chapter 17, the Apostle Paul could have chosen confrontation. He could have chosen judging other people. However, instead, Paul chose evangelization. He was interacting with the Athenians, who had many gods and goddesses who Paul knew to be false. And yet Paul looked at the beliefs that the Athenians had, and he saw good. In fact, he even saw God. In Acts chapter 17, Paul says this to the Athenians: "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with an inscription to an unknown God. What therefore you worship unknowingly, I declare to you today." You see, the Apostle Paul saw, even within the mistaken Athenian worship, a reflection of the image of God. The Apostle Paul, where he saw error, also saw God. Well, how about you, and how about me? Are we willing to see God working in the hearts and minds of those we know are in error? Are we willing to see other people reaching out to God in ways they can't even perceive for themselves? Are we willing to see the good in those that we disagree with? Or are we coming to them instead as somebody who's confrontational and condemning? Are we coming to them as a judge? You see, the funny thing about Jesus Christ, he didn't come into the world, as he says in John chapter 3, to condemn the world. He came to save the world. Or as he said to St. Faustina, he didn't come to punish aching mankind. He came to heal it, pressing it to his merciful heart. Are we coming in the name of Jesus Christ to condemn instead of to save? Are we coming in the name of Jesus Christ to punish instead of to heal? Are we coming in the name of Jesus Christ in a way that really isn't in the name of Jesus Christ? You know, I think sometimes we get it all backwards as Catholics. I sometimes think that we present the truth about the Catholic Church in a way that's remarkably un-Catholic. In the Catechism, in paragraph 25, it clearly states that whenever something is proposed for hope, for belief or for action, the love of the Lord must always be made accessible so that all people can see that all Christian virtue springs from love and has no other objective than to arrive at love. When someone sees you telling them about Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church, do they see love? Do they see that God's love is completely accessible to them? Or do they just see condemnation and judgment? You know, I think we're oftentimes trying to win a battle that God has already won. I think we're sometimes trying to win a battle to make God evident to the world. God has already made himself evident to the world. The reality is that you just have to wait for other people to open their eyes to it and not condemn them when they're struggling to do so.